Hey Eurovision fans, who are the top 44 countries in Eurovision in the last 10 years? I've crunched all the numbers and today I'm going to go through the rankings from 44th all the way up to first, telling you a little bit about the story of each country over the past 10 years, what their trajectory is like, and what they could do in the future to do even better. You might be a bit surprised by who's in the top 10, so let's kiki. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and on this channel you can find Eurovision statistics, news, coverage, national finals, analysis, everything you could want about Eurovision and Junior Eurovision all year round. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to explain how I worked out these rankings because obviously that's pretty important. But if you want to skip straight to number 44, I'll leave timestamps in the progress bar as usual. Don't worry, I'm not going to say the country name and the timestamps. I'm going to be filming this video in several sittings, so my outfit and the background might change. So the way I worked this out was I took the results for the last 10 contests, so that's from 2013 up to 2023, and I took each country's ranking. Now with the semi-finalists who didn't qualify, the way I compared them was I divided by the amount of countries in their semi-final, because obviously more countries in your semi-final means you can get more points. So for example, in 2021, Smthngnw from Denmark got more points than Roxanne from Romania, but Roxanne was in a smaller semi. She got more points per country, so I put her ahead of Smthngnw. And then I made a ranking from first down to last. Now obviously there's a different amount of countries each year. I could have turned each ranking into a percentage. That would have been a pure way to do it. I wanted to just keep it like more simple and accessible. This isn't my PhD. It doesn't need to be methodological perfection. This way is still pretty accurate. It still gives a pretty good idea of who sucks and who doesn't suck. So quickly to explain these graphics that I'm going to be using throughout this video. So we have Tomland here, awesome country, you should totally check it out. And also we have their ranking out of the 44 countries. And then you can see every single year going backwards from 2023 and their placing. At the bottom left, you can see the average of those numbers. In terms of the colors, I put gold, silver, and bronze for first, second, third. Any other top 10 finish, so 4th to 10th is in blue. And then finally, red is when a country doesn't qualify, or in the case of automatic qualifiers, when they come bottom 5. And of course, we're going to be presenting the results with magnets. So let's start off with 44th place, and this is the smallest country in the competition. So it may not be a big surprise to you that San Marino are in 44th place. Oh, the lighting kind of sucks. So yeah, I actually think this is pretty good. Considering that San Marino only has 33,000 people, they've managed to show up to every single contest. So 10 out of 10 contests attended. Only 27 of the 44 countries have been able to do that. So that's really, really impressive. I don't always agree with the methodology that they use, but they get the job done. They always show up. I really appreciate that. Of all the countries currently in the contest, they have the lowest best ranking, which is 19th. So I'd love to see San Marino at some point get onto the left side of the scoreboard, be in the top 13. That would be really, really cool. Okay, let's go to country number 43. And this one fills me with shame and sadness and all kinds of sad feelings because number 43 is Ireland. Yep, 10 contests, we've had no top 10s. Our best result was 16th. We've qualified twice out of those 10 times and only once in the last 9 years. If any entry had been 3 places lower, so for example, if Ryan Shaughnessy had been 19th, we would be below San Marino, a microstate of 33,000 people. So if that doesn't get across how dire the situation is for Ireland, then I don't know what does. I'm actually going to do a video where I go through all of the woes in the Irish selection system and what's wrong, continuing on my series that I did with Romania, what's wrong with Romania. But just to quickly summarize, what are the issues with Ireland? We have a broadcaster, RTE, who just does not care about the contest at all. We also have a public who is so used to not qualifying that even when we don't qualify, the ratings for the final are the same. So that's even more of a reason why RT don't care. The general public are still in the habit of putting blame on non-existent politics, despite the fact that our songs never chart in the Irish charts. The last ones to successfully chart were Jedward in 2011 and 2012. So we don't even like our own songs, but other people should for some reason. And because the general public are so busy blaming non-existent politics, they don't put any blame on RTE. So RTE remains pressure-free, and this is why the problem just keeps going on and on. Anyway, I'll go into full detail about it when I do that big long video. But yeah, Ireland, the lowest ranked country who has won the competition, in 43rd place. I have to remember to flip because when I'm filming, it flips around. So I have to remember to put all the flag backwards. I guarantee you I'm going to forget on one of them, so I apologize for the future. Now let's go to a country that doesn't need to be flipped, and I would consider them the unluckiest country in Eurovision. In 42nd place we have North Macedonia. So as you can see, there's a lot of red there. Won qualification in 2019 and they ended up winning the jury and coming 7th. So that helped massively, obviously, and bringing up their average rank to 30.7. Obviously, without that 7th place, they would have been last. So really amazing for Tamara and really showing that when they send something really, really excellent, they will get rewarded for it. My issue with North Macedonia is they often have really, really good songs, but they just aren't able to convert it into the staging. I largely think that's a money issue. Like, for example, with Dance Alone, where the staging was like very bare bones. They're in Junior Eurovision this year. I'm hoping that's a sign that they're going to come back. Obviously, they missed 2023. I really love them in the contest. Again, some really, really great songs. One of the nicest looking flags as well. Really hope that they can come back with a bang in 2024. So in 41st place, we're going to another country that was not present in 2023. We're not actually traveling that far because it is Montenegro. It's not focusing. Focus. So unfortunately, Montenegro have missed 2 of the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure it's because of financial issues. I thought they were very unlucky in 2022 where they had a really nice song, but it was in the very stacked death semi-final. They looked like they had a bit of a run going in 2014, 2015, where they qualified 2 years in a row and were both top 20. I'm not sure if they were doing something differently there. Maybe they had a different team or a different system. But yeah, that was like a mini peak for them. And then since then, they haven't even been close to qualifying. So I do think that if Montenegro does come back, they need to really develop what is the best strategy for their particular circumstances. We've seen San Marino have been pretty good as well at doing that. And some of the other smaller countries are coming up with these like very unusual niche strategies that get the job done for them. So I think Montenegro needs to do the same thing, but hopefully we see them back in 2024. So 40th place, we are finally moving away from the Balkans and we're going to a country that is currently on a 6 non-qualification streak. So not too surprising that they're quite low down the rankings, and that is Latvia. I'm loving all the flags that it doesn't matter which way I put them. Yeah, similar to Montenegro, they had these 2 years where they were very strong, 2015 and 2016. Both of those songs were written by Aminata, who performed in 2015 and ended up coming 6th. Really, really sensational performance. I feel like Aminata's been a little bit off the boil since then. Her more recent songs I haven't really liked as much. Having said that, I feel like Latvia's on a good trajectory. I felt like this year was a really sensational song, really beautiful, absolutely amazing staging. I feel like a couple of small staging decisions could have helped them even more. For example, showing more of the LED in the background, which I felt was gorgeous but underused in what was shown on TV. But I still feel like this year was a big improvement, and last year was an improvement as well when they had Citizieni, which was a really popular act in the community. So I do feel like Latvia is making progress and trying new things. I think that Aya would have qualified if it had been in the second semi-final, or if juries had been there, or if even they were drawn in the second half of the first semi-final. I think it possibly could have qualified as well. So quite unlucky this year that all the kind of circumstances worked against them, but I'm hopeful that they can really continue to improve, look at what worked this year, what didn't work, build on that, come back and break that 6-year non-qualification streak. I would hate to lose Latvia. I really do like how they bring a great identity. Maybe they just need to give in and send Marcus Riva. That boy is obsessed with representing Latvia. He would do anything to be on that stage representing them. Maybe they just need to internally pick him, give him a song written by an inspired Aminata, and just be done with it. Okay, in 39th place, we have the other country who has a 6 non-qualification streak, and that is Georgia. Now, this is another country who I feel has not made the best decisions, and that has led to some of these non-qualifications. This year being a great example. At one point, they were 3rd in the qualification odds to qualify from semi-final number 2. So they were a really safe qualifier before rehearsal started. And then the show came out and it was just really underwhelming, especially compared to the music video, which was gorgeous, atmospheric, dark, striking, and the staging then was just kind of a bit underwhelming. So this is a thing with Georgia where often they have a pretty good base package and then the conversion onto the stage just doesn't work. You know, they had a nice streak going there between 2013 and 2016 where they qualified 3 out of 4 years, but since then 6 non-qualifications in a row. I don't know what's happening. I would love to do a what's wrong with Georgia video. I would need some sort of like base source to work off of. I'm not Georgian, I don't live there, so I don't know all the ins and outs of what's happening. So if I had like an interview or some expose or something that I could get source material from, I would love to do an episode about that, because what is wrong with Georgia? I would hate if they left. They bring a really unique viewpoint. They're bad boys, they're different. So whereas Latvia I feel like is on an upward trajectory, I don't know if I feel the same about Georgia yet. I thought they were going to qualify this year, but then they really kind of messed it up. They've got to look at why do they keep dropping the ball. They've been in the contest since 2007. They've never been top 8. What do they need to do to break that glass ceiling? Okay, now we're on to 38th place. Let's travel southwest from Georgia, and we're going to go to a country that you might be a little bit surprised to see because they have made big progress this year, and that is Slovenia. So do keep in mind that although Slovenia, I felt, really turned a corner this year, they brought in Joe Gride, who are a really established band, went for an internal selection instead of their usual national final, which is called EMA. So I feel like that was like them looking at the results and saying, look, they haven't been great. What are we going to change? Having said that, their qualification rate is not bad. You see there's quite a few whites there, 5 out of 10 qualifications, but they're just not breaking onto the left side of the scoreboard. Since 2000, they've only been top 10 once, and that was in 2001, so it was 22 years ago. That's quite a long time to wait for another top 10 finish. Again, I feel like Slovenia's on a good trajectory. I think that they should keep up this system that they had this year, find a big name, get a great song. I think Joe Gride have had a lot of success this year, which hopefully artists in Slovenia have seen, and they'll know, okay, Eurovision is a good platform for us to make it big. Slovenia have never been top 6 at Eurovision. I would love to see that happen, but I think for now, the main thing should just be continue to qualify and get onto the left side of the scoreboard, and then aim for top 10, and then aim to be top 6. Let's go to 37th place. And this is a country which unfortunately isn't in the contest right now, and I don't actually have a magnet for them. It is Bosnia. Hopefully there's a floating heart in my hand right now. Yes, I will try and order the Bosnian flag while I'm currently in China now. But Bosnia only with one attendance in 2016 where they came 27th, which is the highest ranked non-qualifier. They actually qualified with the televote, but they didn't qualify with the combined result. I've done a little bit of research into what the situation is recently after I mentioned Bosnia in my latest Eurovision news episode. And long story short, there's a conflict between the Serbian broadcaster and the Bosnian broadcaster in the country. For some reason, the Serbian broadcaster represents a smaller amount of people, but they receive all of the tax revenue for TV, and they're meant to give a percentage of that to the Bosnian broadcaster, and they basically don't. I'm not sure what the justification for that is, but basically the Bosnian broadcaster has been deprived of 30+ million euro, and because they aren't getting that money, they're in debt to the EBU. Basically, they aren't getting the money that they deserved. I don't know what the solution is, how or when that can be resolved. The situation's pretty sad, especially considering that Bosnia and Herzegovina were so strong in the contest. They had 6 top 11 finishes in 8 contests. That's really, really excellent in the noughties and early teens. And they had a 90% qualification record. So they brought something really special to the contest. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know when we're going to be seeing Bosnia back. Let's go to 36th place, and we're within walking distance of Bosnia-Herzegovina. You can walk here if you really have some good shoes with you, and that is Croatia. So another country who I feel is on a pretty good trajectory right now. They had those 4 non-qualifications in a row between 2018 and 2022, but obviously they turned around this year. I felt this year was a big improvement. They sent something that felt a lot more authentic, more Croatian, less generic. They had sent a lot of kind of like generic pop that really could have been from anybody. Croatia had that honorary win in the 90s when Yugoslavia won, but the band were from Croatia. Then again, it's not a win under the Croatian flag. I would love to see a win under the Croatian flag. We haven't had a Balkan winner in a long, long time, since Serbia, I think, in 2007. So I would love to see the contest go back to the Balkans. That would be really, really exciting. Have a bit of variety in who hosts. I'm hoping that Let 3 have inspired lots of unusual and cool artists from Croatia to submit an entry and come and represent. Because if you send something a little bit different, I think it gives you that X factor that means that you can win. So that's Croatia in 36th place. Let's go to 35th place, and we are clearly obsessed over this part of Europe because we are not going far. Again, we're going to take a short walk from Croatia to the next country, and that is the Eagle of Albania. Now this is a little bit misleading because Albania have actually been really strong in the last 5 years. They qualified 4 out of 5 times, and honestly, Ronella should have qualified. That song was amazing. The staging was an absolute mess. What a disaster. It looked like it was designed by a bunch of 12-year-old girls at a sleepover. So that was really disappointing, but generally look at those results: 11th, 17th, 21st, 22nd. They're not really getting into the top 10, but still that's pretty consistent and definitely showing an improvement. If you actually look at their results in the last 5 years, they're ranked 15th, so significantly higher than the current 35th. So I feel like maybe they've changed something behind the scenes. We know that they have help with their staging from Sacha Jean Baptiste. That definitely helps because it brings a real expensive quality and elegance to the staging. I'm not sure what system they're going to use next year, but definitely Albania are actually on a very good trajectory right now, so they should be moving up these rankings if they continue with that progress. Okay, we're 10 countries in. Let's have a little look and see who is in the bottom 10. So my takeaway from these 10 countries is all those people who talk about block voting and the Balkans all voting for each other, etc. Look at this, 6 of these 10 countries are from the Balkans. So let's just put that theory right into the bin where it belongs. All this block voting deciding the contest, well, 6 of these 10 countries are in the bottom 10, and it's clearly not a big influencer on the contest. Yeah, I would put a lot of this down to kind of financial issues. When I think of North Macedonia, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's just a lack of money here. And obviously you might be able to scrape together enough money for an artist, but you maybe won't be able to have that like wow staging that Sweden often has, or you might not be able to pay like a really good choreographer or lighting person, and those small things all add up together to kind of like affect your results. So money is a big issue in the contest. I think some of the other countries, it's about decision making. I would definitely say Ireland, Latvia and Georgia, there's some dodgy decisions going on. Like Georgia this year, I think if you'd given that song to any of the more successful delegations, they easily would have qualified that. So yeah, that's the bottom 10. Let's keep going. 34th place, let's finally move away from the Balkans. We're moving really far north, and that is a one-way trip to Iceland. So little Iceland, who've come second twice but never won the contest. You know, I want them to win more than any other country. That would be a dream come true. They might have won in 2020. Unfortunately, it was cancelled. So it is the lowest ranked Nordic, but then again, there's only 330,000 people. So their dedication to the contest is absolute. They definitely went through a dark period from 2015 to 2018. Felt like the songs during that period were a little bit more generic, not really songs that are going for the win. I know 2016, Hear Them Calling, is extremely popular, but for example 2018, Ari Olafsson, that song was my last place. I thought that was absolutely awful. That is not a song that you send if you're going for your first win in Eurovision ever. So I love that since 2018 they have been going a little bit more outside the box. Obviously 2019 with Hattori got a top 10 finish, and then Dathi in 2021. So that's definitely the strategy that I think Iceland needs to stick with. Those entries felt super Icelandic, super different, really going for the win, like a really powerful, strong effort by them. If you just look at the last 5 years, they're actually 25th in the rankings, and that's still including that last place in 2018. So they'd be even higher if you just took the last 4 years. So, but I'm just gagging for this win. I want it more than anything. Eurovision in Iceland, what a dream come true. I hope it happens in my lifetime. Okay, so let's go to 33rd place, and it is another country who's not currently present in the contest, and that is Belarus. So they haven't been there for the last 3 years for obvious reasons, including 2021, where they were disqualified for sending a propaganda song. Who knows when we'll be seeing them back in the contest. Okay, let's go to 32nd place, and we're sticking with a small country, only 200,000 people more than Iceland. Another country who is definitely obsessed with winning, and have also come second twice, and that is Malta. So some pretty good results here actually. 2013 with that 8th place finish, and then 2021 with Destiny coming 7th. So, you know, they've been top 10 twice in the last 10 years. That's not bad. And also a 12th and a 14th place as well. I do feel like there's a little bit of concern with Malta that if the televote only semi-finals continue, that they're going to struggle, because they tend to do a little bit worse in the televote and tend to do a little bit better in the jury. I haven't gone through and crunched the numbers and seen if that's actually accurate, but that does seem to be one of the prevailing narratives. So for me, Malta has great artists. We've seen that with Emma Muscat and Destiny Chukinyer, just awesome artists. I think their problem is just finding a song, something that's kind of like modern, a little bit edgy, a little bit different. With Malta Fest last year, I thought the songs were like so generic, and there were so many of them. I actually thought the busk was very good. I really enjoyed that performance. I'm surprised it did so badly and ended up coming last in the semi-final. So for me, it's just about how does Malta get a better song? How do they encourage their songwriters? How do they develop that songwriting? Something that can really contend, try and get that first win. So that's Malta in 32nd place. Okay, I'm feeling a bit tired already, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. So when I come back, I'll be in a different outfit. And I'm back in the room and I'm getting absolutely blasted by the sunset. Okay, please just ignore the blinding sun. The lights in this room aren't strong enough to go with the curtains closed. So continuing on in 31st place, you might be a little bit surprised by this because we've got our first country that has 2 top 5 finishes, one of which is a top 3 finish, and that is Switzerland. Now when you look at this, it'll make a little bit more sense because you see that 3rd and that 4th place in 2019 and 2021, but before that, look at the amount of red and low numbers: 32nd, 41st, 40th. And this is this massive shift that Switzerland has had since 2019. I think that's when they introduced their new system where they had like an international jury and a demoscopic jury, and they just vetted the songs a little bit more. Maybe they changed things around in who they recruited as well. But whatever they did massively worked because you can just see this huge difference in their results since they changed up their system. I often use Switzerland and the Netherlands as examples of these countries who have done really, really bad, basically sucked at Eurovision, and then they just made a big change, did a bit of an overhaul, and managed to totally turn their fortunes around, really showing that, again, it's not political stuff, it's about your system, your process, how good is it, how good at you are finding talent, nurturing it, getting good songwriters, etc. I think the sun's down enough. Come back. That sun was literally like burning daylight. And nothing shows this better than if you look just at the last 5 years and they're ranked 8th. Really, really great. I'm so happy they turned it around. I have to admit, I used to completely not care about what Switzerland sent at all. They just weren't on my radar, but now it's something I look forward to every year. I know they're going to have an internal selection and we're going to get the song sometime at the start of March, and I look forward to that compared to before. So really, really, really happy for Switzerland. Okay, it's time for 30th place, and you're gonna gasp again. If you gasp for Switzerland, you're gonna gasp at 30th place because it is Finland. Yet again, another country who's been really, really strong in recent years, but that's because they also have turned things around since 2021. So again, looking at these results, 2019 and before, a lot of red. They changed things up by bringing in DJ Orkidea, which is Tapio Hakkinen, in 2020 to revamp their system. He had a lot of connections in the music industry. He changed things up, gave people the type of confidence that they needed to submit songs to UMK, and since then UMK, the national final, has been one of the best. 3 qualifications in a row, 2 top 6 placings, including runner-up this year with Garia. So yeah, Finland have totally turned things around. If we just look at the last 5 years, they're ranked 18th, but keep in mind we have those 2 weak results from 2018 and 2019, so they'd be much higher if those dropped off. But yeah, Finland have got a great strategy right now, and I feel like a lot of artists in Finland are going to have a lot of faith in UMK. All 7 acts who were in UMK this year were in the top 15 in Spotify before the show even happened. So if you're a Finnish artist now, you know that if you send a good quality song, you're gonna have success from it. UMK has become such a great launch platform for Finnish artists, and because of that, this system is just going to keep producing quality, and I think eventually Finland are going to get that second win really, really, really soon. And at least I hope they keep getting top 10 finishes, because they've only been top 5 twice, Garia and when they won in 2006 with Lordi. So yeah, so happy Finland have turned things around. UMK is the national final I look forward most to every year now. Another success story in Eurovision, but only in 30th place. Now let's go to 29th place, and we have our first big 5 contestants. Can you guess who is lowest ranked of the big 5? I'm sure you probably can. It is Germany. Just to clarify, all the reds here are bottom 5s because obviously Germany doesn't need to qualify. It's kind of hard to compare qualifying songs versus automatic songs because obviously automatic, they immediately go into the final, so the lowest rank they can have is 25, 26 or 27, but they're competing against stronger songs and they only get heard once. So it's a little bit like comparing apples and different types of apples. So yeah, look, I just stuck with my system and averaged out the rank. So yeah, 29th, they'd probably be lower if they had to qualify, let's be real. And even if you take away that 4th place in 2018, which is Michael Schulte, they would drop down to 33rd. So Michael doing a lot of heavy lifting for Germany. Honestly, I feel like quite a lot of those bottom 5s are deserved, even though I do like a lot of them. I think Perfect Life in 2017 for me is a great example of a very generic song from bland land that just doesn't really have any German identity. So although their result wasn't better this year with Lord of the Lost, I think this was a huge step forward. At least the entry felt like it had a huge German identity. I've never seen German fans so mobilized before and into their entry and excited. So although on paper it doesn't look great, I think this was much better this year. They could have sent Will Church, which was the jury winner in the national final, which I actually think was a great song, but I do feel that's the same vein of quite bland generic song. So I like that they chose Lord of the Lost and took a risk. I hope that Germans aren't discouraged and they continue on. But yeah, at this point in time, in the last 10 years, Germany are 29th. Okay, let's go to 28th place. We're moving south of the border. Now I have to admit, this one did surprise me because I thought this country would be a little bit higher, and their 5-year rank is actually much better. But currently in 28th is Czechia. You look at those results now. Recently they've had 3 top 11 finishes, 6th, 11th and 10th, but those 3 red non-qualifications were pretty bad: 36th, 33rd and 34th, and that's what drags them down into 28th place. If we just look at their 5-year record, they're 14th. So that's the reason why in my head I've got them being much stronger. I kind of think of them as potential contenders to win at some point because they do send something that's very unique, has a very strong point of view, a little bit outside the box, which I think you need to do if you're going to win. So I always consider Czechia as someone who will and can potentially win quite soon. I think their delegation works really hard. There isn't a huge fan base for Eurovision still in Czechia and Slovakia, so I feel like the delegation has much more pressure to get good results. I think they do an amazing job, always have really cool staging, cool act. I would hate to lose Czechia. We almost lost them last year. They had a very late confirmation, so I really hope that we see them next year because they're brilliant. Let's go to 27th place, and it's another neighbor from Germany, but this time on the northern border, and that is Denmark. Now you might be thinking, why is Denmark doing so well in 27th? Because they don't really have a good reputation in recent years. And if you look at these results, you'll see largely it's due to 2013 and 2014 coming 1st and 9th. So when that 2013 result drops off next year, they are going to fall down. If we were to fast forward and delete that result now, they drop down to 32nd. So for me, Denmark is a story of a country who won. They had a little bit of a scandal when they hosted because they went over budget, and then the broadcaster just said, we do not want to win again. That's largely the story that I've been told from the Danish commenters on this channel. And we see in the last 3 years, Denmark has been super flat: 29th, 30th, 33rd. We saw that Stig Carlsen, the Norwegian head of delegation, did an interview where he said that the Danish broadcaster delegation, they just don't care. That's a pretty damning statement coming from someone who's behind the scenes, and that's the feeling I get as well, that DR's heart just isn't in it. And also on top of that, they just don't want to risk the fact that they might get a good song and accidentally win. Hopefully they'll get a bit of a kick up the ass this year because Copenhagen is so close to Malmö. They probably won't want to be disgraced so close to home soil. On top of that, they've won twice in Sweden, in 2000 and in 2013. I think that's probably a little bit of rivalry that they don't want to be embarrassed on Swedish soil. So maybe that might energize them into being a little bit less complacent. And by the way, of all 44 countries, Denmark are the lowest ranked winner. But we're going to another winner, and we're keeping the same color flags because the 2014 winner, Austria, is in 26th place. Now Austria, you can see here, just coming off a 3 non-qualification streak, turning things around with Thea and Selena. I actually thought that song should have been top 10. It had all of the qualities of a top 10 song. And you can see here, Austria a little bit hit or miss. That pink color in 2015, by the way, is because Austria were an automatic qualifier who came bottom 5. But you can see really mixed results: a 1st, a 3rd, 13th, 15th, 16th, and then a bunch of like really low non-qualifications. So kind of Austria all over the place. I still look forward to their entries most year, though I feel like the last 2 years in particular, they've been very risky and dangerous, and I've really enjoyed how bold that they've been. Possibly some dodgy decision making. I spoke about in my grand final analysis video about how I felt the staging this year was much worse than the music video, which was the best music video of the whole year. And then Halo last year, they picked an artist who wasn't able to sing the song. So some slightly unusual decision making going on behind the scenes, but when they get it right, 1st and 3rd place, they can get it really right. So I think that Austria is kind of exciting as a all or nothing, very hot or very cold country in Eurovision. Let's go to 25th, and we are obsessed with this color scheme, and we're obsessed with countries who border Germany, because we have our fourth country in a row, and that is Poland, our biggest country to have never won. They have come second place on their debut, but they've never won. Yeah, pretty good results here. You can see they've never been lower than 33rd. They had those 3 non-qualifications in a row, but now they've qualified twice in a row. That 8th place finish in 2016 was Michael Spack, which was a bit of a surprise. They were actually favourites that year with Margaret Cool Me Down, but she came second in the national final. If you're a new Eurovision fan, you missed out on some massive drama that year. That was like an earthquake. You know, I have a couple of issues with transparency within TVR, their broadcaster, and I do feel like that's a big barrier towards them being able to attract the best talent. Is the system entirely fair? And I think people are going to be put off if they feel like they are going to get an unfair deal. So I think that's something they need to work on. Poland have done very well in Junior Eurovision. They've won a couple of times. Personally, I can't see them winning until they sort themselves out on that front. They were obviously engaged in jury cheating scandal as well last year. I think if corruption wasn't such an issue, Poland potentially could have already won, because really in terms of population and resources, they have so much quality artists at their disposal. And our final country of the bottom 20, we're getting rid of the white and the red, but we're keeping the first 2 letters of Poland. We're going to Portugal for 24th place. And we can see here, this is another country who's turned things around. 2013 absent, 2 non-qualifications, another absence, and then coming back to get the win in 2017, which was their first win ever. And then 2 poor results in 2018 and 2019. I thought both of those songs were really excellent though, Telemoveish and O Hardim. So the last 6 years for me, Portugal have just become a new entity, similar to Switzerland and Netherlands and Finland, in these countries who've just had an absolute rebirth, renaissance. Fantastic to see. I love watching Festival da Canção, their national final, every single year. Even if I don't like it or I don't get it, I still find it a fascinating process because it's so Portuguese, it has so much cultural identity put into it. They're in their own world, which I absolutely love. It's so different from all the other national finals, so I always get a hard time in the comments section of my Festival da Canção videos because sometimes I just don't get it, but I always enjoy it. Absolutely love this turnaround that Portugal's had since they won. So let's have a look at those bottom 21 countries. We can see Germany and quite a lot of their neighbours, so Denmark, Austria, Poland, Switzerland and Czechia, all bordering Germany. I'm not sure what's going on there. There seems to be a Central Europe clique going on. Also, we have Iceland, Finland and Denmark, 3 of the Nordics also showing their faces there as well. I guess the key characteristic here is that we can see a lot of countries are improving. So Switzerland, Portugal, Czechia and Finland are all 4 countries who I consider moving up in the rankings. I'm going to take another break now because the light is getting a little bit too low, so I'll see you after another costume change. And I'm back. So now we're into the top 23 and we're going very far away from Portugal to get to our next country, and that is Estonia. So we see here the results. Estonia pretty good, especially in the last 5 years. You saw in 2016 and 2017 they had pretty poor non-qualifications, but in the last 5 years, 3 times they've been on the left side of the scoreboard. 2 top 10 finishes, 8th in 2018, Elena Nicheva, and obviously this year as well with their incredible jury showing with Alika. So it's certainly doing really, really well. Obviously not really breaking into the top 7, the top 5. I'm not sure if they really need to change that much to do that. You know, these are pretty good results. Do they really need to make massive changes? I don't think so. I think Istilau is a fantastic national final with a great pedigree, especially when you consider that Estonia only has a population of 1.3 million. Estonia really do punch above their weight and have very consistently good quality. There's one thing I don't like about Istilau, and that's when you have 3 songs in the final. For example, in the final 3 this year, we had 2 rock songs and Alika, so the 2 rock songs kind of cancelled each other out. So there's one aspect of the super final in Istilau I don't particularly like, but other than that, I think it's great. I love reviewing it every year. So they haven't been top 5 since they hosted in 2002, so yeah, maybe there needs to be something, a little bit extra magic that they need to do to get back into the top 5. In 22nd place, we've got a country that may surprise you. I thought that possibly they would be lower because they have so much drama and chaos kind of going around their national selection, and that is Romania. But actually 22nd is not a bad placing. So I've already spoken a lot about countries who are improving recently. Romania is the opposite. They've actually had a big drop. So if we look at those early results, 13th, 12th, 15th, qualifying and then pretty decent results. Were disqualified in 2016, 2017 getting a top 10 finish, but since 2018 4 non-qualifications, and then they qualified last year with WRS, but then he came 18th. So keep in mind, up until 2018, Romania had a 100% qualification record. They used to be one of the countries who you were just guaranteed were going to qualify. Azerbaijan used to be the same as well, and so did Russia. So there were definitely these big hitters in the noughties and early teens who kind of fell from grace. Romania is definitely one of them. Something has really gone wrong in their system. I did my episode What's Wrong with Romania, which focused on the interview that Theodore Andre gave, talking about all the problems going on in the delegation and with the organization. Lots of things just sounding really not working well. I remember before 2018, Romania used to be one of the countries that people would talk about going to win Eurovision at some point because they were so strong, and they've just completely gone off the ball. Moldova, on the other hand, has gotten even stronger. So we know that they can do it, but the current system is an absolute disaster, and these numbers just kind of prove that. If you only look at the last 5 years, Romania are 37th in the rankings, and that kind of sums up how they've been lately. Okay, in 21st place, let's go to our second country after Denmark, who have got 3 top 10 placings in the last 10 contests, and that is Greece. In 21st place, definitely a country who I associate with being super strong in the noughties. Between 2004 and 2011, they had 8 top 10s in a row. I'm pretty sure that's a record. Now, by no means are Greece weak right now. 8th last year, 2020, 2021, also coming 10th. So they are getting decent results, and in the last 5 years, they're ranked 20th, so only 1 place better. So pretty consistent, but not really breaking into the top 5 like they used to very regularly in the noughties when they were one of the strongest countries in the competition. Generally, I'm pretty happy with their progress. I think this year was a little bit of a mess. Their internal selection had a lot of drama with people suing each other, and just the whole thing was very messy. So I'm hoping that Greece can kind of clean things up this year and come back competitive again. But yeah, they really need to sit down and see what can we do to not just get a top 10 placing, but get back into the top 5 regularly and work out what do they need to do to get back to that golden era of the noughties. Okay, we're into the top 20 now, and we're going to visit another one of our big 5 countries. You're probably going to be able to guess who the next big 5 country is. It is the UK in 20th place. So again, looking at these results, some pretty good top 20 finishes there in 2013, 2014 and 2017. And then of course that massive result in 2022 with Sam Ryder absolutely and utterly reinvigorating the entire system in the UK. Those terrible results between 2018 and 2021 meant that a lot of the British public were saying that it was all political and they were never going to be able to do well again. And Sam Ryder really turned that around, did a huge amount of good with his amazing result. Obviously, May wasn't able to replicate that this year, but I still think that she was a great representative and they had a great song. I wonder how much time did Sam Ryder buy us? Because surely if the UK continue to do very badly again, people will say, okay, Sam Ryder was a one-off blip. We're back to everyone hates us. So I would imagine we get at least 3, 4, 5 years before the British public starts saying that again. So the UK delegation need to use that time to get another decent result, even if it's just top 13 left side of the scoreboard. That would be great. This year coming up is going to be a big one. What are they going to be able to do? Really excited. I'm so hoping that the UK can get another decent result, stay away from the bottom 5 and keep the public off their back. So let's go to 19th place, and I recently just spoke about this country when we're talking about number 22. It is Moldova in 19th place, so doing stronger than their neighbors Romania. And actually, if you look at the last 5 years, they are 10th in the rankings, so top 10, and I would put that largely down to their extremely strong televotes. Trenatul in 2022 coming second with the televote, and in 2017 they came third with the televote and ended up 3rd place overall. Moldova and Romania's relationship is really interesting because we have Romania, who are currently in a really weak period, who used to be incredibly strong, and Moldova, who used to be very weak, now in their golden period. It's this interesting dynamic where obviously they have a lot of things in common. Moldova, considered one of the poorest countries in Eurovision, who still manages to make things work. 2 top 10s in the last 5 years, still haven't gotten their first win. For me, it's going to come down to how do they get that jury score. I really associate them with having those high televote scores, but you need to have the jury on your side as well. So that might be something that they need to work on if they want to get their first win. So that is Moldova in 19th. Okay, let's go to 18th place, and it's one of my favorite flags, really beautiful, and it's also another country who's never won Eurovision before, and that is Cyprus. These results are really interesting. You can see in 2013 getting a really bad non-qualification. They took a break in 2014, and then they came back with 6 qualifications in a row. So another country who changed their system, had fantastic results. Now those 3 qualifications were 22nd, 21st and 21st. So not amazing results in the final, but still incredibly impressive for such a small country to have such a big impact in Eurovision. And then obviously 2018 with Fuego, one of the all-time classic Eurovision songs, coming 2nd place. And then since then 13th, 16th, non-qualification last year with Andromache, and then this year coming 12th. So Cyprus really solid, strong. In the last 5 years, they are actually ranked 6th in the entirety of Eurovision. So that is incredible for a country of only 1.24 million. So a kind of similar population to Estonia. So Cyprus and Estonia, amazing. Just showing that small countries can have a huge impact. I can't imagine the contest without Cyprus and Estonia because they have such a strong identity. They bring so much passion and love. And they're just great examples about how you don't need to be a massive country with huge funds to somehow work out a strategy that gets you great results. So really, really great for Cyprus. That 6-year qualification streak is amazing. They have a quarter of the population of Ireland, who were in 43rd place. Let's go to 17th place, and we've got another Big 5 country, and that is Spain. So really interesting results here. You look at the amount of red. So because this is a Big 5 country, this red represents being in the bottom 5, and they've got 6 of them in the last contest. But for me, the real turnaround came in 2022 when they started Benidorm Fest, their national final, which has gone down extremely well, very popular in the community, and they got that fantastic 3rd place with Chanel, which I thought was absolutely sensational. And then this year, Aya, which was quite divisive, some people really hating it, other people like me thinking that it was absolutely gorgeous. But still, that's 2 times in a row now where they've been outside of the bottom 5, which might not sound like the most optimistic way of looking at it, but really when you look at their history, this demonstrates a huge turnaround. So they've had a change in their head of delegation. I'm praying that that doesn't cause a nosedive for them to return back to their old ways, because I really love this new Spain. I have to admit, I wasn't always super excited about Spain in the past. I thought that their entries were often very messy, lots of drama happening behind the scenes, whereas the last 2 years I think have been absolutely fantastic, and I really look forward to Benidorm Fest. I want this new Spain to continue as long as possible. I want them to win again, because they haven't won since I think 69, and they would host an amazing contest. Oh my god, it would be so much fun. It would be in Valencia. That's one of the agreements of Benidorm Fest, is that if Spain wins, it'll be in Valencia. Amazing, beautiful city. It would be such a big party. Oh my god, it would be so much fun. Okay, it's time for 16th place, and we're going to another country who hasn't won, and that is Lithuania. Now, if we look at these results, there's a lot of white there. So there's 7 qualifications out of 10 contests. That's really excellent. Not breaking into the top 7 though. You can see the best result there is 8th in 2021, and Lithuania's best result ever is 6th. So they've never been in the top 5 before. That is a problem. They're the only Baltic country who hasn't won Eurovision. Obviously, Estonia and Latvia both won in the early noughties. So that's something I want to see Lithuania change. I do feel like of the Baltic countries, Lithuania and Estonia are actually quite close in terms of who will win next. They've actually got similar results recently. They revamped their national final in 2020, and since then they've had 3 top 14 finishes. So they're on a really good streak right now, and they just need to continue that momentum going forward. I think they possibly would have gotten their first ever top 5 finish in 2020 with the Roop singing On Fire, but unfortunately the contest was cancelled. We'll never know. That is one of the most painful things, is that we'll never know what would happen in that contest. They were one of the favourites. Theoretically they could even have won, but I think realistically they probably would have gotten top 5. So that's 16th place, Lithuania. So 15th place, let's go back to a country who has won within the last 10 contests, and that is Israel. You can see here 2013, 2014 having some pretty weak non-qualifications, and then they definitely mixed something up in 2015, because then they got 4 qualifications in a row, including that win in 2018 with Netta. That purple in 2019 is because they were automatically qualifying as a host, but then they came bottom 5 and then qualifying again in 2021. So that was 5 qualifications in a row, which ended in 2022. But then this year with Noah Carell bringing in one of their biggest stars in the whole country and being immediately rewarded for it with a bronze medal. So really strong since 2015, and I think once those 2013 and 2014 results drop off, Israel will move up even further. If you look at the last 5 years, they're ranked 8th. So definitely one of the countries who's putting in a lot of passion, a lot of effort right now. I think they've got a real dedication to the contest. So that's why they're 15th. So 14th place is a country who hasn't won adult Eurovision, but they've won junior Eurovision 2 times, and that is Armenia. So we can actually see from these results that Armenia's in a little bit of a down period right now. Between 2013 and 2017, you can see they qualified every year, 2 top 7 finishes, 5 top 20 finishes in a row, and then 2018 and 2019, 2 non-qualifications. 21 they had to sit out, and then I think they had a little bit of a mini revamp, and they've come back in the last 2 years with singer-songwriters, which I think has been a really cool change up. But still in the last 5 years they are ranked 27th. Definitely starting off strong, having a little bit of a blip, hopefully coming out of that blip now. That 14th place finish this year almost getting them onto the left side of the scoreboard. They're one of the strongest countries in junior Eurovision. As I said, they've won it twice and they've been top 9 15 out of 15 times in junior Eurovision. So they need to just get that magic that they have in junior Eurovision and transfer it over into adult Eurovision so that they can get that first win. Only Azerbaijan from the Caucasus has won Eurovision before, so it would be great to see Armenia or Georgia, one of the other countries, get that win as well. So that's Armenia in 14th place. Let's head southwest to visit our country in 13th place. They have won Eurovision 1 time before. That is Serbia. So I feel like Serbia is massively improved in the last 2 years. Let's first look at those earlier results, missing 2014, and then they had this period where they qualified 5 out of 6 times, but their results were very mid-table, 10th, 18th, 19th, 18th, 15th. So qualifying, but then just not really having an impact in the final. And I feel like in the last 2 years there's been this chain up with Pesma za Eurovision, their new national final, which you know I'm absolutely obsessed about. And I feel like they're sending more risky, daring entries, which realistically is what is going to get them their second win. I think like that period where they were aiming for the middle of the table with these kind of safe entries is just not going to get the job done. So I hope that Serbia isn't discouraged with coming in the bottom 3 this year. I still think that their entry was absolutely spectacular, really interesting, unusual, different, daring. I hope that they don't change their strategy and go back to those entries which are going to qualify and then come 18th in the final. At this point in time, Serbia is the Balkan country which I think is most likely to win next. I'm not sure if I would have said that before 2022. I feel the last 2 years definitely they've stepped up. But yeah, I really want to see another Balkan country win sometime soon because it's been way too long. We haven't had a Balkan country host in ages, so I really hope whether it's Serbia or one of the other Balkan countries that someone can just send something super wow and take the title and bring Eurovision back to the Balkans. So that is Serbia in 13th place. In 12th place, we have another one-time winner, and that is Azerbaijan. So really similar to Greece's trajectory, Azerbaijan, when they debuted in 2008, just lived in the top 10. They had 6 top 10s in a row from 2008 until 2013. Since then they've kind of dipped a little bit. They haven't been able to find that same vein of form, and you can see that with this second place in 2013, and then a lot of whites, which is qualifications, but just not breaking into the top 10. Obviously they had Chingiz in 2019 coming 8th, but not managing to break into the top 7 since 2013. I feel like this year they really changed it up with Tural Turan X. It didn't work, but I thought it was an interesting, cool experiment. Out of all the countries in Eurovision, I'm probably the most curious to see what is Azerbaijan going to do next year, because that Tural Turan X entry really surprised me. I wonder, are they going to try and build on that, or are they just going to go back to basics? Similar thing to Serbia, where just qualifying a lot but then not really doing much in the final. Maybe they need to reinvent themselves in the same way that Serbia have if they want to start getting those better top 10 results. But that is Azerbaijan in 12th place. Okay, before we go to our top 11, I'm going to do some editing, so there may or may not be a costume change. Oops, I got a haircut. That's how long this video took to make. I had to get a haircut halfway through. So before we go to the top 11, please do take a moment to give me a thumbs up. This video obviously took a huge amount of time collating all the data, working out the rankings, writing the script, making 44 graphics, and then filming, editing, and all the post-production. A lot of love went into this, so please show me some love as well. I'm not going to show you everyone from 44 up to 12 so far because I don't want to spoil who may be coming up in the top 11. I'll show you the top 44 at the end. But yes, we're into the top 11, and what better way to start that with a country that may surprise you. They have won Eurovision one time, but it was a long time ago. You may not think of them as a top 11 country, but they are. It is Belgium. So really impressive with Belgium. If you look at these results, 7 out of 10 qualifications. We have those 3 reds, which are in the 30s. But other than that, we have 4 blues representing top 10 placings. Nice to see as well that those top 10 finishes are split between the Wallonia and the Flemish broadcasters. So 2 top 10s each. Other the French broadcasters results are a little bit better with those 2 4th places. But yeah, Belgium with some really amazing results, quite stealthy as well. You don't really think of them as a big hitter. They definitely went through that period between 2015 and 2017 where they really did emerge as one of the big countries who were potentially going to win. So I'm not sure what was happening during that 3-year period, whether something possibly changed or whether it was just a little bit of luck that they had 3 great results in a row. 7 out of 10 qualifications is above average. Belgium, I think, very stealthily doing well. Can they get that second win? They haven't won since 86. I would love to see that happen as well. Having someone new hosting would be super cool. Now, one small caveat is that their 5-year ranking is 25th. So definitely that stronger period on the right side is definitely bringing them up. They need to kind of get back to whatever they were doing really well in that period if they want to be in contention for another win. They've already announced their contestants for this year. It's going to be Musty. So the fact that they've already picked someone so early could be a good sign. Maybe they've got a really special song. I'm excited to see what Belgium are bringing this year. So that's Belgium in 11th place. In 10th place, we have a country who's not currently in the competition, and it makes me very sad because my favorite Eurovision composer ever is from this country, and that is Bulgaria. So yeah, Borislav Milanov is my favorite composer who is currently not active. But yeah, look at these results. A lot of missed contests. We know that Bulgaria has issues with funding, and it does seem that when they do come, the funding issue seems to be a bit behind closed doors. 4th place in 2016, amazing song, and then 2017 getting that 2nd place with Christian Kostov. So I remember during that period after 2017, I really felt like a Bulgarian win was going to come quite soon. They were favourites to win in 2020 before the contest was cancelled. I personally don't think that they would have won that, but I think they would have gotten another top 4 result because that song would have done very well with the jury. Since then, 2022, they had a very strange entry, announcing extremely early and then coming very low in the semi-finals. My understanding, again, is these funding issues, and the band offered to fund, so that's what made it viable. I really hope that we get Bulgaria back. Again, they were someone who I thought was going to win. So I hope that that opportunity isn't gone now. I spoke earlier about how I think Serbia are the Balkan country most likely to win next. Bulgaria would have been the ones before Serbia did the revamp of the national final. But yeah, first of all, we just need them back in the competition, hopefully sort out a more sustainable way of being able to attend every year, and then I think they could possibly get that first win. So that's Bulgaria in 10th place. Let's go to 9th place, and you might be a little bit surprised by this one. It is another one of our big 5 countries. It is France. Now, I have to admit, this did surprise me a little bit because possibly didn't clock how well France were doing. When we look at these results, bottom 5 3 years in a row between 2013 and 2015. But since then, they've been super consistent. 6 out of 7 top 16 finishes. And you may think top 16 isn't super amazing. But for me, that really shows that even if they were in the semi-finals, they would have qualified 6 of those 7 years. I think 2022 for Len, I don't think that would have qualified if it was in the semis, but all the other years, I think that they would have. Obviously, that incredible 2nd place finish in 2021 from Baba Pravi, almost getting the win. She was only 25 points away. And then this year, a little bit of disappointment with Lazara coming 16th. She was tipped to do even better than that, but still incredibly consistent results: 12th, 13th, 16th, and then there's 2 top 6 finishes. So France are doing really excellent. Unfortunately, there still doesn't seem to be a huge amount of public support for Eurovision in France. It just doesn't seem to have kicked off. So I'm not sure what the delegation can do to try and get more public support. Viewing figures there are pretty low compared to the other big five. So that's a little bit disappointing, especially considering that France really do deliver. Only bottom five once in the last 7 years. And generally we tend to think of the big five being in the bottom five a lot, and France actually aren't. They're fantastic in Junior Eurovision. They've won 2 of the last 3 years, and they're going to be hosting this year in Nice, which I'm going to be attending, so make sure that you're subscribed so you get all of my Junior Eurovision videos. So a bit of a surprise, but very well deserved 9th placing for France. Okay, in 8th place, we're going back to a country that unfortunately is not present in the contest and has never won before either, and that is Hungary. Hungary withdrew after the 2019 contest. They didn't actually give an official reason. It was kind of implied that they were disappointed with not qualifying in 2019. But if you look at their results, there's not really a justification for that, because between 2013 and 2018, their results are exceptional. 6 qualifications in a row, 3 top 10 finishes. So not really in a position to complain about getting a bad deal in terms of Eurovision results. Their best result ever is 4th place. They'd never been top 3. That kind of consistency that they were showing, it was kind of assumed that they would win eventually at some point. So really, really sad that they've withdrawn pretty much for political reasons. Their leader is extremely anti-European. It's sad that we're missing them because of that. And I feel like each year that goes by, people are just kind of forgetting about them more and more. I really don't see people talking about Hungary or about any of their entries recently. So that's sad that they're kind of like fading from the Eurovision consciousness. Very sad that we lost our 8th place country. Let's go to 7th place. And in my opinion, this country are the kings and queens of turning around your Eurovision fortunes, going from a 0 to an absolute hero, and that is Netherlands. Yeah, in case you don't know, Netherlands hold the record for the most non-qualifications in a row. That's 8. The really, really dark period that they went through in the noughties and the early teens. And something happened in 2013 with Anouk, who's quite a big star in the Netherlands, agreeing to perform. And she got them their first qualification and top 10 placing, coming 9th in 2013. With Bird's beautiful song, beautiful performance. And since then, the Netherlands has just been a different country. Super, super strong. Look at these results. Only 2 non-qualifications. They won in 2019, obviously with Duncan Lawrence, 2nd in 2014 as well. And then they love coming 11th. Those 3 11th placings in 2016, 2017 and 2022. So 6 qualifications in a row between 2016 and 2022. After that, 8 non-qualifications before. So very streaky. I hope that we're not going back to another Dutch non-qualification streak. I don't think that we are, because I get a real sense now that Dutch people are super involved in Eurovision. Seeing that change in success really showed that they can do well when they send great artists, great songs. I think that this year was a small blip, and they're going to go back to their success because they have so much talent, and we've already seen there are so many Dutch artists who are wanting to represent them, and that's such a healthy situation to be in compared to, for example, Ireland and UK, where there's very few artists who are willing to speak up and say, I would like to represent my country in Eurovision. I love this turnaround. Netherlands are the poster children for showing that when you do a revamp of your system, you can immediately get fantastic results. Latvia and Georgia right now on 6 non-qualification streaks. The way to get out of that is to do a big shake-up, change your system, come up with new ideas, and you can have the same success that the Netherlands had. So that's 7th place, Netherlands. It's time for 6th place, and we're going to our last country who's never won Eurovision before, and that is Australia. So let's look at these results. Really incredible. 7 out of 8 qualifications, and honestly that 2021 result with Montaigne Technicolor, I felt that was largely just down to the fact that it just wasn't viable for them to fly to Rotterdam and perform live. So I feel there's a little bit of an asterisk behind that, beside that non-qualification. Otherwise, they love coming 9th. The way the Netherlands loves coming 11th, Australia loves to come 9th 3 times, and then also that runner-up placing in 2016 with Dami Im. Look, we know that there are a couple of issues with Australia. In case you don't know, they're having some issues with funding. They're having to kind of wing it each year in terms of how they are able to get their artists and the delegation over. So they still haven't confirmed for next year. We're going to have to wait and see if it's going to be financially viable. But from what I've heard from behind the scenes, it has been difficult for them recently to make ends meet and make it obviously a huge expense just in flights alone coming from Australia to Europe. I would hate to lose them. I think they bring a real quality to the contest, and I think that you can see that in how good their results are, showing that you can do extremely well without a diaspora. They have no diaspora to call in, similar to San Marino Marino. So when other countries start complaining, oh, this is all political diaspora voting, well, Australia has 5 top 10 finishes. I hope they can confirm for next year and somehow come up with a long-term strategy in how to fund their entries coming over, whether it be sponsorship or some sort of private deal, I'm not sure. But in any case, at this point in time, Australia are 6th. Okay, let's go to our 5th ranked country, and this is one of my favorite countries in Eurovision. I'm absolutely and utterly obsessed with their national final, and that is Norway. So let's look at these results, and it is a sea of blue because there is an absolute ton of top 10 finishes here. You can see 9 out of 10 qualifications not qualifying in 2016. That was Agnieszka singing Icebreaker. I love that song. I thought it should have qualified, but 2016, in my opinion, was just a very high quality year, extremely difficult to qualify. 7 out of 10 top 10 finishes. That is something that a lot of countries can only dream of. 4th, 8th, 10th, 6th, 10th, and 5th. Incredible. Now, in the last 5 years, the story with Norway has been that they are much stronger with the televote. It wasn't always that way. 2017 and before, it was pretty even. But yeah, recently they've done extremely well with the televote and not as strong with the jury. And you can see they haven't had any top 3 placings here. So Norway really consistently solid, fantastic quality, but not sending that special X factor, which is going to get them onto the podium. And that's what I want to see. I would love to see Norway get another win, even though it would be incredibly expensive to go to it. That's something that I'll deal with in the future. I feel like they've got such a good system right now that I don't think that these results are going to change. I think they're just going to keep qualifying. I think they're going to keep coming top 15. They're going to get that first victory since Fairy Tale in 2009. Hopefully that next win comes sooner rather than later. So that is our 5th place, Norway. Okay, it's time for our 4th place country, and this is our last country who is not currently in the contest, and that is Russia. So not present in the last 2 contests for obvious reasons. That result in 2018, their only non-qualification with Yulia Samoylova. The way that girl was treated in her staging by the delegation was really appalling in my opinion. But other than that, all top 10 finishes. Obviously Russia benefits hugely from having a massive diaspora in former Soviet countries, but also they're not afraid to send their big stars. Dima Bilan, Sergei Lazarev are very established pop stars in the country. Okay, so let's move on to our bronze medal country, and it won't be a surprise to you that they have won the contest in recent years, and that is Ukraine. So yeah, absolutely fabulous results here. Ukraine, as you may know, are the only country left in the contest who have never non-qualified. And for me, that is from their absolute and utter creativity and dedication to the contest. So obviously winning in 2016 and 2022, but other than that, just regularly in the top 10. And for me, that's because they are probably the best country for sending songs with a huge cultural identity, very creative, very interesting, but also bridging that gap, making it accessible to the masses. I don't think there's any other country in Eurovision who would have the guts and the bravery to send Shum, and not only to send it, but make it work with incredible staging and get that 5th place finish in 2021. So there's a real riskiness here. They take the contest so seriously. They really want to show off their identity and culture. If I had any small criticism for them, it would be that when they host, I feel like they take their foot off the pedal a little bit. Now, in fairness, they're probably busy because they're trying to organize everything. But yeah, their 2 worst results have both come from when they were hosting in 2005 and in 2017. But that's a pretty small criticism because I absolutely love Ukraine in the contest. They're amazing. I personally feel that 20, 30, 40 years in the future, Ukraine will be the country who have the most wins in the contest. They've got this huge depth in their music industry and their big artists are willing to come forward and represent, and that's a really great recipe for success. I also think they have the best staging in the contest. They consistently have this incredible eye for how to stage a show, make it entertaining, get those votes in. And I think that they have forced other countries to up the quality with the staging. Crazy that they have had such a massive impact on the contest, having only debuted in 2003. So that's our 3rd place, Ukraine. Now we're going to our 2nd place country. You can probably guess who's left, but I'm not going to spoil anything for you, don't worry. We're going to a country who only returned in 2011, but they have had the most incredible return to the contest. It's our last Big 5 country, and that is Italy. So yeah, look at these results. This is the type of thing that any delegation would love to have. One of my favorite things about Italy is they show that a big five country can consistently do well, because there is a little bit of doubt. Is there animosity towards the big five? Is it because they only get to perform one time? Well, Italy show that big five can consistently do exceptionally well. 8 out of 10 top 7 finishes and 6 in a row. That is insane. Look at those numbers. And unfortunately, those two lower ranked results, 21st in 2014 and 16th in 2016, are the 2 times they were represented by ladies. All the other times are represented by men, and there does tend to be this pattern that Italy send men a little bit more often, 6 times in a row now. But it's working for them. They've got incredible results. The key ingredient for me in Italy is that their acts are fantastic. They send the cream of the crop, their big stars. Måneskin, Marco Mengoni, these people are the pinnacle of the Italian music industry, and that's why they get such good results. If the other big 5 countries also sent their top acts, they also would do as well as Italy, probably. There's a specialness in who they send, and I think that these results are really well deserved. I'm pretty sure that 6 top 6 streak is a record in Eurovision. I don't know if anyone can compete with that. I know Greece had 8 top 10 finishes in a row, but not top 6. Italy are really in their golden period right now. They've got their system in Sanremo, so there's no reason to think that this is suddenly going to change. They are here to stay in the top 10, but I would love to see them sending a woman and her also getting top 10 as well. But a very well-deserved silver medal for Italy. Now, no prizes if you manage to guess who the number 1 country is, because we all know this is one of the strongest countries in Eurovision, and that is Sweden. So look, a lot of people hate on Sweden. I think people are going to hate on the most successful country always, because people like to root for an underdog. But in my opinion, this is super well deserved. Sweden send such quality every single year. They have this extremely deep system, layers and layers of songwriters, music producers, artists, infrastructure that goes into their entry every year, and they always send quality with a great artist who's able to sing the song. Really cool, interesting staging, very dynamic. I think that they're pushing the standard in the contest up and up. Look at these results. They have never been outside the top 14 in the last 10 contests. Some countries can't even get into the top 14 once. San Marino in Ireland. Sweden can't get out of the top 14. They don't know how to do it, because this is layers upon layers of the best people in their fields. It's not just a bit of luck. They have one of the most developed pop music industries in Europe, and they utilize it. People saying that they tend to do better with the jury. They do. They also do very well with the televote as well. They came 2nd this year. Cornelia came 6th. If I was to have one criticism of Sweden, it was just that I would like to see another aspect of their music industry. They obviously have this incredibly developed pop music industry, but there are other facets. I used to be a massive fan of Swedish electronic music, which I would consider probably the best electronic music in the world. In case you know, bands like The Knife from the noughties, who were incredible. I'd love to see something like that, because there is this other side of Sweden that's super high quality as well, which we don't really tend to see. Whether you love or hate their success, there's no denying the sheer quantity of work that goes into the results. It doesn't just appear out of thin air. But I don't blame them for sticking to pop. They are the center of the pop universe. So like, what do you expect them to do? They're pop gods. So they're going to send pop music. That's just the way it is. But I think maybe eventually they'll feel so comfortable, they're like, okay, let's just send something different this year. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. So that is our host for this year, and it's the number 1 country out of all 44 in the last 10 years. That is Sweden. Okay, so who were your surprises? Who did better than you were expecting? Who did worse than you were expecting? Definitely leave me a comment in the comment section down below telling me who made you gasp the most. And who do you think is on a really good trajectory right now, and who is not so much? If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. This took so much work. Oh my God, this video really did take a lot of time to make. Big shout out to all my beautiful patrons who bring support and stability to my life. Also big shout out to Helle for supporting me on Buy Me a Coffee. No new supporters on PayPal, but you can support the channel there as well if you want. I'll leave descriptions in the link below. Check out my Patreon as well. I'm occasionally going to be posting these videos early on that channel. So if you're a member there, you get all the juicy stats earlier than anyone else. But as always, thank you so much just for watching. I'll leave a couple of other videos for you to watch in the end screen. So goodbye.